Welcome back. So we're going to be dealing with the registration part of our staff app. So we want to do with authentication, the registration, right? What we want to do is we want to get information from the user, then store it somewhere. So when they come back and say, "Oh, this is who I am. This is my username. This is my password," check that in your system, and we see that we would just check if that username and password is in our table, and we'll give access. Else, we can tell the user to go and register, or we just tell them, "Okay, you know what? I can't find your information in my table," right? So that is just thinking about it logically. That's what we're trying to do right now. So how do we do it? Now, I would like us to please, I keep saying this, let us read the Django documentation because Django, it's a framework, it makes it easier. It has a user creation form. This user creation form, a class that has been created prior, and you can get it from this Django contrib.auth.forms. You can import user creation forms. Now, user creation forms takes in these important fields. It takes in the username, email, password one, password two. Then it takes in the first name, first underscore name, and last underscore name. That's how it's going to be. It's this is why I read up the Django documentation. It takes in this and it authenticates using your username and your password. If you want other information in this registration phase, you want other information, you can decide to create your own custom registration form, create your own custom form. But this user creation form makes it easier, but it authenticates using username and password. I'm saying that again. Now, we said username, right? The username um is a chat field, just like how you would create your normal forms. So I don't really need to go deep into this. We know it's a chat field, and the widget is the text input, text attribute of the class form control. The label, this label is what the user will say. By default, it will show this. But if you want it to show something else, it will show this name, this label that it is there. So label is equals to user name. Then also the email did the same thing, email field, password one, password two. So forms the chat field, but the widget is going to be what? Password input. Then also we have password two. Then the first underscore name and the last underscore name. And if you can see for the first and last name, I made it required equals false because by default the forms are what are required, but I have made it required is equals to false. That is, you might if you don't fill out that input, you won't get an error. Do you understand? Now, also I created a meta class. Now, you remember when we are talking about meta class, right? When we are talking about model forms for the bookings, we used the meta class and the model was booking. Yeah, we're going to be using the Django user table. I don't know if you realized, if you looked at when you went to your admin, you saw a part called authentication authorization. It showed you user table, your hand. There's already a inbuilt user table already. And for you to get that working, make sure you also import django.contrib.auth.models, import user. A user is the table in, and we're going to show the fields that we want to see. We want to see the username, we want to see the email, password one, password two, first name, last name, order. I'm going to write this save method. By now we all know what methods are. Let's write this save methods. We're going to allow it because there's already a save method already that would save just your username and password. But we also wanted to save the email, get the email the user puts in there and save it. The first name and the last name. You can see we use this claimed underscore data. I already talked about what it means. Then if commit user.save and return user. So that we've already written another method for you to save also the email first name and last name. So that working well, I'm just going to save that. Then we're going to go to our views. Remember our registration view, we're just going to import your registration form from this font. Then we're going to pass a variable that we hold that registration form, just so we can view. We did all this in bookings too. Then we're going to put a context variable. Now, since we've been creating a dictionary, we'll just create a dictionary here and pass in whatever it is. But right now, we're going to create a context variable to hold that dictionary. Then we pass that variable into here. So I'm showing that there are different ways for you to do that. You can put it here, you can put it, you can do it this way, you can do it the way we've been doing it from the beginning of the video. It's fine. So after you do that, you've already passed in a key and a value for that. The key here is reg, right? I just used a random variable. Then I'm going to go to my register.html and I'm going to make sure that I pass in this CSRF token, because that's what's going to allow me actually submit, right? Then in the label, I put reg, the key of your content dictionary, reg dot user underscore name dot label. I don't think I spelled this well. Label. Yeah. Then let me go to my phone to see that. Is username, not user underscore name. So I'm going to go back here and change that. Yes, reg dot username dot label and reg dot username. Then I have for the email. So this dot label is going to give you what? The label. While this is just going to give you the input. Then I've done for the password 1, password 2, for your first name, the last name. You just go to your register.html and you put that in there. And I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to go to, and I have this working perfectly. This is everything: my username, my email, my password, confirm password, first name, last name, and we're ready to go into the real thing right now, into the real thing, registration. So what we will do is go into our views, and we don't even need too much. We'll just say if request dot method is equals to what? Post. Then show this form. Then we're going to pass in um request dot post. Then well, and I'm going to say if reg dot is valid, we're not going to save reg. We're going to say reg dot save. We're going to say reg dot save. We're also going to put in a message, or we can just redirect the user. So we can either redirect the user or we can put a message. But what I want to do is I want to just redirect the user maybe to the login page. So I'll be using return redirect register to then the name of that URL you're going to take the user to. So I'm going to use staff, and I'm taking the user to, let me check the name of this URL if I'm right. Yes, register. So this is where I want to take the user. Now as you can see, redirect is looking like an error. That means we've not imported. So I'm just going to put comma redirect. So that should fix that. Else just show this. So that should work. What we're just doing now is if the user puts in anything, if it is valid, save it and redirect the user to the login page. Sorry, login. I think that's what I called it. Yeah, login. That is that you're going to. Now there are different things you want to do. You can either do email activation, like okay, after the user has, you've been in a situation when you register for something, they send you a link, activation link to check if that email is valid, right? You can also do that. So there are different ways. There's not just one particular way to do things in life. So we're going to do that, and we're going to go back to. I'm going to go to my HTML file to just check if I have my method to be post. So that is post, and also I'm going to put in this block of code. This is going to undo my errors. Now, when I put in maybe I don't put in a strong enough password, or I don't put in the right field, I will know what exactly is wrong. Making our UI better is putting this error message here. So I will show us how it works. This, you can pause the video to actually type this. We're just going to show it on top of if there's any error with whatever error that occurs, we're going to put in there. And I'm going to go and fill out this form. So username, I'm going to put in, I'm going to put an email. I'm going to put a password. Let me put a weak password for us to see that Django user creation forms actually helps. carries out all these validations on our behalf. So we can now create. I'll say that the password is too short. I can see my message is there. My error message is there. Sorry. So I'm going to put a better password. I'm going to put in. Then I can pass in the first name and last name. So let me create the account. Can you see? It's redirected me where to the login page. That is, I have been registered. So I hope you understood that. I hope we could get that. So how it works and everything. Let's just go straight into login. So because login does not really take so much time, we're going to for the login. What we're going to do is going to be very quick. We're going to import some particular functions. We're going to import login, logout, authenticate, so that it can allow us just you can just allow us it helps us authenticate faster than it's a framework. We're just going to import those functions that we're going to use. So what I'm going to do first is just to go into my login and just check some little things. I'm going to change this to username because in using the user creation form, I've said it, you can be able to authenticate the username and password. That's what it takes. It takes in username and password. So I think that works well. I'm going to remove this. I'm looking at my UI. Yes, I'm going to remove this thing here. So I think, yeah, it's worked this way. So I'm just going to put in the functionalities that takes that. I'm going to check out for two important things. Number one, the method. I'm going to set my method to be what? To be post. And also, I'm going to set the name of the input. There's no name here. So I'm going to set this name to be username. And I'm going to set the name for this to be password. Yeah, that looks good. Then I'm going to go to my views and carry out the authentication process. So in my views, I'm going to go to my views and I'm going to import login, logout, and authenticate, right? So I'm going to say from django.contrib.auth import login, logout, and authenticate. Now I'm going to go to my login and I'm going to just do two things. Very easy. Get what the user puts in there, then check, authenticate, check if that name or that username and password is in the database. So we're going to say if request dot post if request dot method sorry request dot method equals to post username is equals to request dot post you get. And what do you want to get? That name you put in our HTML, I called it username. And I'm going to do the same thing for password. Also call this request.post.get password. Then I'm going to call a variable called user is equals to. I'm not going to use my authenticate function. It takes in request and it takes in what is the username. Now authenticate that the user check for where username is equals to username. That is the variable holding what the user puts in, right? And also check where password is equals to password. Now this password and this one after the comma, after the equals to is my variable here. Then I'm going to check if user is not known. That is if there is a user with username and password. So if this user variable is not known, that is if there is a user there, do we understand? Is none, no user, is not known, there is a user. I'm now going to log in using the login function. We're going to log in, what's the name? We carry you request, and we're going to pass in user. I just realized that please correct this. I used the login as my function here, which it's not a nice practice because I already have a login. I'm using a login. I'm importing a built-in login function. So I'm going to change this to user underscore login. Please do that also at your end. Then my URLs, I'm going to change this view here to user underscore login, because if I don't, I will be this won't work, because what I'm just doing is I'm just going to be, what do we call it? I'm going to be declaring a variable, reassigning that login function. So now it works better this way. Then log in the user and redirect the user to the dashboard. I'm going to redirect, that is return redirect the user to staff, and the name of it is called login. Remember, I'm calling the name of the URL, not the name of the view. So that should work now. Then no, I'm going to redirect the user to the dashboard. Sorry, dashboard, not to the login. Then I go back in here and I'm going to redirect my user. So I put in Mayowa and I put in this. Let's log in. Now, why are we getting this? By now, everybody should be able to fix this. I'm going to go back to my register and I'm going to put my login, sorry, and I'm going to put in what? I'm going to put in my CSRF underscore token, CSRF underscore token. I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to go back and reload the page because now I have actually, yeah, so I'm going to log in. And since it finds a user with that username and password, it does what? It redirects me to the dashboard. I hope we all understand this. I hope we understand this. I don't know why this is taking so long to load. My dashboard is taking so long to load, but it's redirecting me to the dashboard. You can see this. And that is because their username and password exist. Now, to undo error better, we can go back to our views and put an else statement here. Else, that is, if there isn't a user, put a message there. You can put a message that says, oh, username and password does not exist. So I can say messages. I haven't imported that yet, so I'm going to get error, messages dot error. Then we pass in request. Then you can just put in the username or password does not exist. Please do that and make sure it works. Then you know what you're doing. Now I have been redirected to the dashboard. The next thing we're going to be doing in the next video is to make our dashboard dynamic. This is not what I want to see. Remember, I'm using a template. This is what my template has. So I want to make this what I want to see in here. I hope you understood this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.